Talking about sports amongst your friends, that's easy to do. Doing a podcast and talking about sports, I want to see you try it. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls. Isaiah, I know you probably know what I'm referring to, which is Tua Tagovailoa, basically addressing people's criticism of his play in the first three games, basically talking about how difficult it is to play the game as opposed to analyzing it. Now, the little sticky part of this is that Cam Newton's name is mentioned. And as we all know, Cam Newton played quarterback in college and the NFL at a pretty high level. Took a team to the Super Bowl, won an MVP. Now,
Heisman.
Yep.
Debatably, I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say this. I might get flagged for it, but the single greatest season of a college football quarterback in the history of the game.
Maybe Tebow challenges that.
But Tebow had some NFL receivers, NFL talent around him. Go look at that Auburn roster and you show me. I think there was one other guy that made it to the NFL. Look at what Auburn was the year before he got there, and then the year after he left. And then come back and talk to me about who Cam Newton is at the college football level.
But the point is, Cam Newton is a very established quarterback, and he's a pretty good analyst. Works with ESPN on a part-time basis, and has his own podcast, 4th and 1. And I've actually done some work with Cam Newton. Great guy, really great analyst. He's taken off. However, his commentary is a little bit spicy, and it seems that a mention of Cam Newton's comments, even though I don't think Tua has actually seen it, got under Tua's skin. Here is the video of Joe Shad from the Palm Beach Post asking Tua a very specific question and Tua's response.
How much do you think people who criticize and scrutinize your play do it not just from the film, but through the lens of your current contract? In your opinion, is that a factor?
I'm not too sure.
In other words, they don't just say Tua Tagovailoa threw an interception. They say threw an interception and he makes $53 million. You know what I mean? Because they do. They always say that. I heard Cam Newton say it the other day.
Well, anybody can play quarterback in this league. Then I mean, I want to see anybody on the streets come and play quarterback. I mean, Cam's doing his thing for sure, but you know, I think it's easier to be able to hold a clicker and talk about it that way, or talk about what someone else is doing wrong when you're not going out and having to do the same as them, right? So I think it's easy to do that. I think anybody can do that. I don't think anybody can play quarterback. So, yeah.
Now, here's my take on this thing. I was sitting there, heard it in context. Mm-hmm. You put it in context with the question, you understand why Cam Newton's name is mentioned. That response was not directly shot at Cam Newton in regards to him not being able to play quarterback, if you put it in context. Now, I also know most people in the national media, they're not going to put it in context because this society of media is just interested in the clickbait, just interested in the views, the readers, and more importantly, Cam Newton's response. However, I will say this, Isaiah. At the end of Cam Newton's career, he was a pretty bad quarterback and subsequently got run out of the league.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to debate that. But what I will debate is that Cam Newton has experienced higher highs at the quarterback position in the NFL than Tua has. Again, like if you look at, Cam Newton's record in the playoffs, I think it was 4-7. It doesn't look great, but you got to remember, again, he took a team to the Super Bowl. Again, we can go back and look at that team, and
you gonna say that Carolina team was bad too? Damn,
I mean, it was okay.
He's a Superman. Put on a cape all the time and carry the franchise.
He had Greg Olsen. Like I'll say that. Like that is a future Hall of Famer.
He has Steve Smith.
I mean, again, like it was an okay team. Like obviously they were outmatched, right? They played against a phenomenal defense in the Denver Broncos, right? And they kind of got exposed a little bit. But that run that Cam had that year, I mean, like it was incredible. And look, I understand Tua, kind of taking offense maybe, or, not necessarily, again, because, we've had this conversation before. Tua doesn't really ingest, what me and you ingest in terms of a media diet. His media diet, I'm pretty sure, is Disney with his kids and whatever pops on there, right?
He only knows what's being said when Ann tells it to him before interviews.
Exactly.
That's the insulator that he lives in.
Exactly. However, sometimes it's important to step outside of your bubble, because when you do, you can realize a few things, right?
Hold on. So you want him at an 0-3 start to step outside of his bubble and pay attention to the national media, what national media is saying to him?
Not what I'm saying. That's listen to what I'm saying. That's not what
that's the time you go like this.
I hear you. You're completely correct. But I think the important part of what Cam said, right, was he listed the quarterbacks that make less than Tua. Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, Jaden Daniels' name was thrown in there. There is a. Let me finish. Okay, go ahead. He threw in a lot of names. Matt Stafford being one, Baker Mayfield being another one. Right? There are people in this league who are playing the quarterback at a higher level than Tua is right now in week 3, heading into week 4, and it makes you beg the question: why was he given all this money? Right? Point blank, period. Now, I understand the context of what it was in the time, right? That was when all the quarterbacks were getting their money, right?
Next man up.
He was, quote unquote, the next man up. But
he got his deal a day after. He got his deal a day after Jordan Love, and a couple of weeks after Trevor Lawrence.
Again, I hear you, but there is one thing that you cannot argue with me on, and it's that I'm sure they wish they would have waited a year. Because if they would have waited a year, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, you always wish you would have waited a year. You think Jalen Waddle is worth $28 million? Do you think Tyreek Hill is worth $35 million? Like, do you think Bradley Chubb is worth $20 million?
Look, Tyreek Hill, you're getting paid that for what you've done. Tyreek Hill, that's getting the Tyreek Hill number. That's more so for what you've done, right? Jalen Waddle, again, hindsight's 2020 on that one, right? But when you saw what he did those first couple years, it was like, oh, okay, like he is on an upward trajectory, right? Like I think a lot of times, just with football and just with sports in general, right? As you mentioned earlier, like the national media is always clamoring for clicks and blah blah blah, but at the same time, there is real truth into what Cam said, right?
Hold on. Okay.
Hey, let me finish. The truth is, you have to play the sport that you are paid millions of dollars to do better than what you're playing. Why is that? Because this guy is making less than you. This guy's making less than you. This guy's making less than you. Now, again, they don't watch the games as closely as we do. They don't understand that his entire blind side has been virtually compromised, non-existent, lackluster, dismal, whatever word you want to use, right? And that is a very real thing that is happening to this man. I'm sure he's a little bit freaked out every time he steps on that field.
He actually acknowledged it in the press conference, like yes, I'm rushing my process. Yes, I'm playing to avoid injury. The man said it in his own words.
I get it. I understand, but again, sometimes, a lot of times in life, we build this idea up of ourselves in general, and and specifically, with Tua, there are times that he's actively put himself in harm's way. That again, it should have been maybe not second nature, right? But that certain thing should have been coached out of him maybe a little bit earlier in his career, so that it doesn't get to year 6 and now he's playing not scared but rushed, right? Because again,
how do you coach something out of him that? And I say this, and I continue to say this, and I'm not going to stop saying this. When Daniel Brunskill olays Deion Walker's block, and Tua has literally 2 seconds to do anything with the ball.
Again, that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the thing that was, I guess, plastered across the Dolphins locker room heading into this year, which is Tua, keep yourself healthy, right?
Exactly.
You're right. So my thing is, why is it that it's year 6 and this is the message?
That's the message because he just missed 6.5 games, taking risks that he didn't necessarily need to take.
And thank you for making my point.
Following the message that
thank you for making my point for me. Again, that's what should have been coached out of him. Do not put yourself in harm's way. You are a franchise quarterback.
It has.
Huh?
So now he's playing like it.
Again, but it's year 6. It's a little too late for that. I don't say it's a little bit too late, but it's year 6. Like, what are we doing here? We should know who you are in year 6. And the fact that this is still a little bit of a question, that we're still trying to figure it out, that's an issue.
It's not really. One, I take issue with you bringing up quarterback contracts. And I never, ever, 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 and I always give you this lecture and to Twitter this lecture, people inaccurately, consistently report contracts wrong.
Okay.
And I can tell you what the quarterbacks are making in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence is making $44.6 million a year. Joe Burrow is making $45.1 million a year. Lamar Jackson is making $52 million a year. Jared Goff is making $49.1. Justin Herbert is making $42.9. You know what Tua is making? Tua is making $42 million a year. And this next year, he's on the books for $40 million. The year after that, he's on the books for $36 million. And if you do not know how to read a contract, which most of the people in this community do not know how to do, including the sports reporters, do not talk about them because you don't know what you're talking about. But I will move off from that. Here's the issue.
He's still making more than the players that I mentioned, but that's okay. He's still making more than Mahomes. He's still making more than Hurts.
No, he's not. He's not making more than Mahomes. He's not. Mahomes just got his deal retouched again. Mahomes has walked away with $500 million. So
that's deserve it. Again, like I would have had an open checkbook, like whatever you want, you got it. Like again, I just
giving a player a 10-year contract is never wise. But anyway, let's move off from this.
Go ahead,
because it will be a firestorm. I've written a story on it. To me, the major takeaways from Tua's press conference was him saying, "The offensive struggles, it's on me. I have to do a better job putting this team in position. I need to do a better job, finding the big plays. I got to do a better job of protecting myself while also getting to my final reads." That was all said. Now, it'll be lost in translation because, he apparently took a shot at Cam Newton. But let's stay on task here. Cam Newton is not going to help the Dolphins get to their first win of the season. Tua's clean, efficient play is. Yes. And you said that people don't know who Tua is. I would disagree with you. Tua is a clean and efficient quarterback who's nearly completing 70% of his passes in his career, who generally limits turnovers. He's just off to a very bad start. Now, the question is, how much have teams figured out what Mike McDaniel's doing, figured out a book on him, and have they not been able to fix that recipe? That's the question that I have moving into this week's game against the Jets. And I can honestly tell you, I don't have an answer to it because the NFL is a league where somebody comes up with a solution, you got to come up with a counter. You don't come up with a counter, then more people are going to build on whatever that other team is doing that had success, and it continues to mushroom cloud. Now, I don't know if they're able to fix this offense, primarily from this standpoint. That offensive line ain't getting no better anytime soon. And is it?
No, it's not. We still got 2 more weeks. I know Tua will probably count down the days, checking off the days one by one.
I don't think it's just 2 weeks, my friend. I do not think.
After the Panthers game, they're eligible to come back, right?
Eligible does not mean they will.
That's true. That's very true.
Eligible to start practicing does not mean they will be cleared. And I think part of the reason why Austin Jackson is in this position was because he was rushed back onto the field. Yeah. And the last thing that you want to do is do it again because he's already done that. He has already suffered an injury, rushed himself back onto the field, and then re-aggravated that same injury previously in his career. Mm-hmm. So that's the last thing he wants to do twice again. So they're absolutely not going to let him go back onto the field until that thing is completely healed. And to be 100% frank with you about James Daniels' pectoral injury, I ain't seen nobody come back from a torn pec yet. Now,
do we know that it's torn?
Nope. But I will say again, I ain't seen him in the locker room. I ain't seen him training around the facility. I haven't seen him hanging around.
That's
so
true.
That makes me think, speculate, guess that it's torn. So we'll see. We shall see. And even if it isn't torn, how much does a strained pec need?
Yeah.
Do we know that? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? Is it 12 weeks? Well, man, this is going to be a long road, and unfortunately, they don't have any answers to help the offensive line. So we are where we are now. One of the things that I wrote in a Miami Herald column are my 10 reasons why this team is in the position that they're in right now. Struggling to get along, to find victories. And part of my reasoning has to do with the defense's performance. Now, and I wrote a column about it. Mm-hmm. While everybody's obsessed with the offense because we all know quarterbacks and offensive talk and turnover and Tua hate moves the dial, moves the needle. Tell me who expected the Dolphins defense to be the worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
Anybody?
No one did. I don't think so. Especially with the Saints being the NFL team. So
wow.
They're not good.
I did not know where that Saints hatred just came from. It was
it's not hatred. It's just the reality of the situation. Like the team's not, we're not good either.
Yeah. Neither the Dolphins. Like
I know. No, I get. Look, they're in the same boat, and they'll have a mid-off. What is that week? I don't know when, but it's towards the end of the season.
Here's the thing. I've said the foundation of this roster is flawed. You can't debate that with me because we saw the structure of how this thing was built. The starting cornerbacks, the best performing cornerbacks, they all got here a month ago. Like you think you might want to have added them earlier in the process? Just a guess.
Especially because you're losing two veterans in Jalen Ramsey, obviously all-pro talent, and Kendall Fuller, who's been in the league for God knows how long. I think it was 9 years, right? Nearly a decade. So it's you want to bring those guys in.
It's a poorly built roster, and they can say that they're reloading, retooling.
Hell no. It's bad. It's bad. It's very bad.
Another reason is to have teams caught up to Mike McDaniel's play calling. Your answer to that would be what?
I think it's a combination of them catching up to the play calling and also Tua's limitations, right? I think and again, as a play caller, right, you work to your quarterback's strengths, right? However, defenses know his weaknesses, right? And they're not going to let him get to those strengths, right? i.e., they're going to play a lot of too high. So to avoid the big plays from the star wide receivers, right? Outs are something that Tua has has kind of struggled with this year. To me, I think when he's very decisive about throwing the out, he gets it there, right? You can think about the corner route to Jalen against the Patriots. To me, that against the Patriots again, like when they were driving down the field towards the end of the game, those are the outs. He was, hitting those. But, generally speaking, Tua wants to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Mike McDaniel knows that. Obviously, opposing defenses know that. And so they're trying to take that away and
he
also bait him.
The middle of the field when the deep is gone. But then he'll throw it to the perimeter. They play horizontally. So he'll throw it to the perimeter. But now everybody's saying all Tua throws is passes behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. It is what it is. No win situation. Yeah. Here's another theory. Tua, second hip injury, took some of the juice off his arm.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I can't speculate on this, but I don't think that there was a. I'll just say this: I don't think that there was a second hip injury. To be honest,
Huh?
I think it was related to the first one.
No, they were very adamant about this is a totally different type of injury. You
Okay,
you
when
say,
is so like when is people can't lie to your face? They also told us that Darren Waller was like, we're slowly ramping him up and he's not injured. He's
they
okay.
were ramping him up, and then he got injured. Anyway,
Come on now.
hey,
Come
listen.
on now.
And here's another theory, and this is my favorite, Isaiah. The offensive lines being depleted has limited the offense's ability.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, if Tua has to take even less time to throw the ball than he already does because he has people like Deion Walker, in his face. Like, I mean, 100%. It totally limits everything you can do because you're not confident in your offensive line to be able to sustain blocks. You have to throw out a significant portion of the playbook because you have to go probably to a lot of quick throws, a lot of short things, and that's why you see him throwing behind the line of scrimmage like that, because it's like we have to get our playmakers in space and we don't have enough time for them to get downfield or intermediate routes. And so you kind of got to, do what you got to do.
You got to speed it up, which is why I'm just so flabbergasted that this roster is so poorly built because I saw it coming a mile away, a million miles away. Tried to warn the people, and unfortunately, we are where we are. The defensive front is struggling versus the run. How much credence do you put into that?
Yeah, they were like one of the worst run defenses in the league right now. Like, I think and it's interesting. I brought this up that Calais Campbell,
fourth worst,
huh?
Fourth worst.
Yes,
fourth worst.
And the Calais Campbell led Cardinals are the fourth best. You notice a pattern there, of course.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, they can't stop the run, which is limiting their ability to get the opposing offenses in third and long situations, right? Which allows you to unleash your dogs, Judon, Phillips, Chubb, Chop. You can't do that now. And so is what it is.
I want to see a pass rushing unit with all four of them on the line.
I do, but we haven't had a lot of 3rd and 12s, third and situations where you actively want those guys, rushing the quarterback. That just hasn't been a reality.
Okay. Blitzes aren't hitting home, Isaiah. It baffled me that the Dolphins are the most consistent blitzing team in the NFL right now, yet they have the least amount of pressures in the NFL. So that means you're really stressing and compromising your defense and you're not getting home. But then also the run the defensive issues that you're having. We can mention turnovers, lack of turnovers. That also impact. You got to get those got to be in those passing situations to kind of rush the quarterbacks. Another reason, offense continues to abandon the run, Isaiah. How much stock would you put in that as a reason that the Dolphins are 0-3?
I think there were situations where they were forced to abandon the run a little bit. I personally think that, against the Colts, like they kind of went away from it a little bit early. And I get it. Like you were down big. You have to try to pass the ball. But like, look, bro, it's like the second quarter. You shouldn't throw the run out then, And we saw, obviously, the success of the offense against the Bills, right? And what did they do? They pounded the rock. They ran the ball down their throat. And I think that can be a recipe for success going forward for the Dolphins, for sure.
And here is one of my final theories. The special teams needs to tighten up. Isaiah, if I told you there was a special teams play in all 3 games that cost the Dolphins momentum and contributed to that loss, would you be surprised? Would you be able to name those plays?
Okay, obviously there's the kick return right after the punt return, right? Like that's
against New England.
Against New England. Against the Bills, it was Zach Sealer. roughing the kicker, and then against the
Colts,
it was another roughing the kicker Judon, right?
That is correct.
It's called watching film, baby. Let's go.
Special team has to tighten up. That's going to be on Mr. Ackerman. And then finally, the limitations of productivity from the tight end. Last year, you had a record-setting season from one Jonnu Smith, who you have traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in return, even though we've had a long wait for Darren Waller, do you know what Julian Hill and Tanner Conner have contributed in 4 games?
I want to say I'm pretty sure Julian Hill's one catch got called back against the Bills, and so
he's got another catch.
Yes. Okay. Well, because the only thing I can remember is Tanner Conner. He caught that nice ball over the middle. I forget against which team. And I'm guessing that's 12 yards. So I want to say they have under 25 yards between them.
They have 29 yards and 4 receptions between them. And Julian Hill has a 2-point conversion. So
okay.
Let's not take away his 2 points.
Okay.
So in the Colts game. So is there any
John at the end? You talking about the John at the? No, I mean you're right. It happened.
He did it. He got 2 points. First time he's ever reached the end zone.
No, that's real. That is very real. You're right. You are right. You are completely correct.
Is there anything that I'm missing in your mind that justifies or explains why this Dolphins team is 0-3 heading into Monday night's nationally televised Jets game?
I think one of the issues that I personally have is I want to see, again, maybe this is me being, well, he's a star, so damn it, he gets the criticism. I need more from Tyreek. I need, again, I don't like the drop against the Bills. Like, that was really bad. So if your quarterback, if you're going to tell your quarterback, yo, you need to hit me deep, you got to catch the ball deep, right? And so that to me is an issue. One of the things I noticed, and I mentioned it, in the Pats game, because that's when it was the most apparent, right? Is like when the play's breaking down, these receivers need to find Tua's eyes, right? They obviously did a better job of that against the Bills, right? But I just want, and maybe it's better leadership that I want from the receiving core. I don't know about if leadership's the right word. Maybe that's the wrong word. I just want Tyreek to play the way that we know he can, right? Catch the deep balls. Again, maybe I'm being hypercritical, right?
No, I don't think you're being
hypercritical. I want him to catch that ball, because you can't say, like, look, we need the deep shots. And then when you get one, you drop the ball. Like, that to me.
You know what's interesting? So many people have brought up that Tua shrinks in these big moments in big games. Think about the Kansas City game, the Philadelphia game, the Buffalo game. There are plenty of moments where Tyreek Hill shrinks in those moments and doesn't bring down big catches that he should.
That's real.
That's real. That's just a real criticism, because I think he should have caught both of the deep passes that were thrown to him against the Buffalo Bills. Completely different game, completely different statistical look if he did. But, it's just not happening for him the way that it happened in 2023, 2 and 23. And in fact, I asked Tua about that. I asked Tua because something struck me. Tua coming out of the New England game, he was basically like, yeah, I told Tyreek in this situation, yo, whatever they show you, you got to make it right, because I'm coming to you. Mm-hmm. You the big dog, I'm coming to you. And that was a lot of how he played in 2022 and 23. That was a lot of how they play. Tyreek will be the first to admit, and I know you can't really believe everything Tyreek says, but he was like, I ain't know the playbook. I just ran to open spaces. I just, I knew the plays, but I just ran to get open, and Tua found me. Mm-hmm. And at Hard Knocks revealed it. You should watch that Hard Knocks season, by the way. I keep telling you that. So my question, my concern or thought process is, why can't you get back to that again? Why can't I would be running Tyreek on drag routes the entire game? Like, yeah.
And then I saw something against the Bills that I liked. I can't wait to ask Tyreek it because they had him in the backfield, had him motion out and run a route, got like, a good gain. When I have criticism about his 2-point stance because he was like on the ground basically. But all jokes aside, like maybe I misremembering it, but I didn't see any of that last year. Like, why don't you have your best player? Like if you have to get him in the backfield just to throw off opposing defenses, right, and have him run like a crazy motion route, like I'm a fan of that. Like, again, it's you're getting your best player the ball in space.
Here's the thing: you gotta, and this is another issue, and this is something that has puzzled me, perplexed me, and I probably have to ask Tyreek about it. And I get it in theory, but there's so many plays, especially third downs, where Tyreek is off the field because he's tired and winded, and I'm like, if I'm running him into the ground on these 15-yard cheat motions and jet motions, and it's taken away his ability to run routes and reps, maybe I should stop that. And I get it. It's, Tyreek is the weapon. He's the fear factor. But I would like him on the field more often than less. And if I got to run Jalen Waddle in those motions, and then have Tyreek just be my possession receiver, maybe I do that. I'm just thinking out the box. But anyway,
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with just using them interchangeably, right? Because to me, I feel like their skill sets are very similar, right? Like, why not kind of, and you're right, I guess possession versus big play. Like, I understand that, but these are like arbitrary terms, right? Like,
yeah, they are. And when's the last time you seen Jalen Waddle catch a big play?
Like, I mean, the flag route, the one that I mentioned earlier, the corner route in the end zone against the Pats. That was like 19 yards. I mean, it wasn't like, again, not 25 plus. I get it. All right, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, we it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Jets team against the Jets when Darren Waller gets back on the field. Let's cross our fingers that he has 2 more healthy days of practice to make it to game day. He's going to be used on a limited basis. He's going to be scaled down, hopefully, to get him healthy for game day or get him fresh for game day. He is 33 years old, so you got to be kind of smart with how you utilize him. But how much of an impact do you think Waller is going to make in this offense?
I couldn't tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm being completely honest with you. Like, I think anyone that tells you different, like, they don't know.
We haven't seen him run a single route. Yeah,
like, we've seen him run routes, but like we haven't.
No, with an 11 with an offense.
Yes, 100%. So I have no clue, right? Like, literally, I was realizing this on my way home. I said, "Yo, I think I gotta go watch some more Darren Waller Vegas highlights," and because like I need to see how, at the very least, they used him. So maybe there's some crossover to how the Dolphins were going to use. Because
maybe you should watch the season where Frank Smith was his position coach. I'm just saying. I don't know. I agree with you. I have absolutely no idea what to expect from Darren Waller because I don't even think I've ever seen him run at full speed. Like,
it's interesting because yesterday, or not yesterday, on Tuesday when I saw him run, I was like, okay, that doesn't look bad. But then today when I saw him, I was like, oh, yikes. Like, he looked just kind of slow. Like, and, my favorite thing, he wasn't necessarily, he looked like he was running with jeans on, but like, it wasn't.
Heard you use that reference.
That's what I say with Najee Harris all the time because,
I'm not.
But that's neither here nor there. But I will say it looked a bit belabored today. And I know one of the things that I asked him afterwards was just, how has your body responded to it? And he was honest. He said, like, pretty well so far, but I know I'm not 100% there. Obviously, there are times where I feel like, okay, I am there mentally. So I try to push myself and I realize, oh no, maybe I'm not there. And that to me stood out because I was like, good Lord, like, how bad was this hip situation, right?
I've dealt with so many receivers. When you're a big body player like that, that's what goes. Their hips. So that's the first thing that goes with them. So it slows them down. But it'll be interesting to see what happens against the Jets. Big matchup of the 0-3 Miami Dolphins versus the 0-3 Jets. We will be back before Monday night's game. And hopefully you'll continue to check in on Dolphins in Depth and the Miami Herald's coverage of your wonderful Miami Dolphins, the 2025 No More Excuses edition. On that note, we are out.
What was that description of the